Yeah, I didn't want this set up. I wanted it up there. Assalamu alaikum, family. In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful God. I bear witness that there is but one God whose proper name is Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I want to greet you all in the nation's greetings of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. All praise is due to Allah. We are thankful to Allah for his intervention in our affairs by coming to us in the divine person of Master Fard Muhammad and raising from among us a divine messenger whom we know to be the exalted Christ, the Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We could not bear witness that in this manner if we didn't have a witness bearer of his come before us to show by his works and his faith that God has visited us and raised up one from among us and put himself in that man and gave him a witness, a helper, the chief helper, and that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Is in those three great names, I'd like to greet you, brothers and sisters, in the nation's greetings of peace and paradise once again. Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone? All praise is due to Allah. I find myself striving hard to make my word bond, fighting for Islam because I know we will surely win. Let us give our brother Darren, a well-deserved round of applause and thank Allah for his words, and we thank Allah for his presence here among us. And of course, brothers and sisters, you know, Wednesday nights, as we all know, is a mosque meeting night. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And we are not Sunday Muslims. Is that right?
That's right.
You know, and so we have to get our Wednesday nights back to how it was in the beginning.
Yes, sir.
You know, where we're teaching and raising the dead by Allah's grace. You know, recently we heard from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he was exhorting us to help him.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know, this is one of the ways that we can help.
Yes, sir.
By first and foremost, us making sure that we are in attendance at the mosque, and then also making sure that we bring guests out and that we go and also hopefully have our visitors and supporters with us. Our subject matter is hard trials are necessary to establish truth. The truth that needs to be established is that truth of God himself that will liberate our people, and the truth about our enemy. You know, this world is built upon technology.
Yes, sir.
And many of our people are not aware that this world is built upon technology, deceit, and lies. Now that technology, as is defined for us in our lessons of supreme wisdom from Master Fard Muhammad to his servant, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, for the Lost Foundation of Islam in North America, that technology is called devilishment. And that devilishment is identified by telling lies, stealing, and I'm changing the word around a little bit, how to master the people of God. In the lessons it says how to master the original man. The original man represents the people of God. This enemy has been using lies and tricks in ways, in a slick way, to master the people of God. And when you think about it, one of the things that comes to mind from that lesson, and that's toward the end of Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, question and answer number 4 in our Supreme Wisdom lessons. And after you read that lesson and recite it, the next question that's asked is about Jesus and Jerusalem. And it says, why did we take Jerusalem from the devil? How long ago? Because one of our righteous brothers, who was a prophet by the name of Jesus, was buried there. He uses his name to shield his dirty religion, which is called Christianity. Also to deceive the people so they will believe in him. Jesus' teaching was not Christianity, it was freedom, justice, and equality. Jerusalem is in Palestine, Asia Minor. Jerusalem is a name given by the Jews, which means founded in peace. And it was first built by the original man who was called Jabez, also Salem and Ariel. We took the city from the devils about 750 years ago. Now in that history, there's also a spiritual counterpart. And what I get out of that is there's a reason for me why the ending of lesson number 4 is ending with Musa coming 2,000 years later and taught the devil how to live a respectful life, how to build a home for himself, and some of the tricknology that Yaqub taught him, which was devilishment, telling lies, stealing, and how to master the original man. Why is that mentioned? And then we go into the 5th lesson and it's talking about Jerusalem. And why did we take Jerusalem? Because the deceit of the enemy is through Christianity and about Jesus. This is tricknology already being spelled out for us that the enemy would use on how he would master our people. Our people believe in Jesus, our people love Jesus, but they're loving the wrong Jesus. They're believing in the wrong Jesus. They're believing in a Jesus that did marvelous works, but he's not the Jesus of 2,000 years ago. And he's not white. He wasn't white then and he's not white now. And so this is all part of that tricknology. And so we have to be aware of it. So with that kind of tricknology, they have been able to master our people. Therefore, upon the coming of God, he will bring a truth that will raise the mentally dead to life. And that truth will cause revelation. That truth will cause revolution. Thank you. Revolution. And where there is revolution, there are soldiers. So that means when God comes, he raises up an army. Is that right? With the word. This is written in the scriptures of the Bible, in the book of Habakkuk, and in the book of Revelations, to start to say a few places. Now, in the book of Habakkuk, in chapter 3 of that book, I just want to read the verses to solidify the point. In that book, you find it is written, and we're taught about this in Message to the Black Man, where it talks about God's coming, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad proving to us that God came. But in here, it says, God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. He said it's been a long time since the earth was full of the praise of a Holy One. But if you notice in this section, it's representing two gods. One coming from Teman, which is some place in Arabia or a people in Arabia, and another one, the Holy One, coming from Mount Paran. You know, and we know that's near, dealing in Arabia near Mecca. One is holy and one is just a god. There's a distinction here. If we look into it, they're not both coming at the same time. All right? We don't have time to go into all that. However, Yaqub was born 20 miles outside of the holy city Mecca. And he was a god. And you see the work of that God. But after his work is done, the Holy One comes. And the Holy One, when he comes, it says that his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. He brought revolution. Yes, is that right? Yes. The mountains saw thee, and they trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said mountains here represent governments. Come on. Yes. That when that man of God comes and speaks that powerful truth, governments start trembling. Yes. And you wonder sometimes why they are scared of Farrakhan.
Come on now.
Because he's the voice of that truth. And so they tremble when he comes. This is why they didn't want him on Netflix. You see, you make a deal with the man and then cut the deal right at the 11th hour. You see, they didn't want him on Netflix. Oh, Brother David got the latest paper. Can I have a copy of that, beloved? Yes, thank you. All praises due to Allah. I didn't know that the latest final call was in the house. Yes. Netflix, Farrakhan, and controversy. Why was documentary about life of the national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam stopped from airing over streaming platform? Could it be fear of the truth? It most certainly could be. Is that right? What's troubling America? You know the enemy don't want everyone to see the minister in that light. You know, in the light of harmony with music and sitting down with all kind of composers of different ethnicities. Oh no, not when you're labeling him a hater, an anti-Semite, a racist, a bigot. You don't want him to be shown in that light playing the most difficult instrument that anyone can play, the violin. Oh no. Harmonizing all the different rappers and singers together? Oh no, we couldn't show that. But yet you can show the story of the KKK with David Duke the very next day. So why wouldn't you show Farrakhan? Well, look, mountains did tremble upon the coming of God. God is present. And we have to understand and we have to remind ourselves, if we forgot, that we're on a mission from God. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So in Revelations, in chapter 21, it says here, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. Then it says, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of water of life freely. This is the blessing for black people. And this is a blessing for all mankind, if they will adhere to the word. We're in that time right now. God is present among us. He is our God and we are his people. Is that right? And so with that being said and that being known, then we have to understand, one, as I said last week, there has to be a proper response to the call of God. But for those of us that respond, hard trials are necessary to establish the truth. Now, in Surah 29 of the Holy Quran, entitled The Spider, it talks about how trials purify. And before we start reading from that verse, those verses in that surah, I want to just reflect on what the scholars are saying about this particular surah 29, entitled The Spider. And it's because it's very interesting language, and I think it's something that we should take into consideration. The scholar says that the object of the triumph of truth has never been achieved except by suffering sore afflictions and severe trials in its cause. Hence, trials and persecutions were necessary. See, there's no way that we can establish truth or strive to live by the truth without going through some trials. The establishment of truth is going to bring trials. Now, someone may say, well, hey, look, you know, I ain't got to be with all that God stuff and have to go through them trials. I can duck that in a minute. I just ain't going to be with God. That's heavy right there. But I would say this, just on the base level, everyone, every human being has to go through trials. There's no getting away from trials. God has ordained trial for men and women. It's necessary. From the time that we are a cell in our mother's womb, all the way to coming to birth and life thereafter, coming all the way up to adulthood until we take our last breath, we're going to go through trials. It's a trial just coming forth as a child. Coming out the womb is a trial. Is that right? Inhaling the first breath is a trial. Is that right? Crying becomes a trial. Rolling over, lifting your head up, getting up, crawling, all of it becomes trials. Is that right? I mean, we watch babies. Is that right? They struggle with everything. And it's all signs of different levels of how these trials will come and what we should have to face. So Allah says in the Holy Quran, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I, Allah, am the best knower. Do men think that they will be left alone on saying, we believe, and will not be tried? And indeed, we tried those before them. So Allah will certainly know those who are true, and He will know the liars. So Allah takes us through tests and trials to bring the best out of us. The best out of us, or the best that's in us, is the truth. And discard the worst part of us. So the trial is necessary to bring out the best and discard the worst. So when you go through your trial, you have to be analyzing yourself before and after, so that you can pinpoint those things that manifested in the trial that is a bad reflection of yourself, and pinpoint those things that manifested in the trial that's a good reflection of yourself, and then start separating the bad part. And to separate the bad part means we got to go to work on that. Is that right? Because if we don't go to work on it, then we just act like, oh, well, you know, I know better next time. I'm just not going to let that show up again. But it's still there. Like a cancer, it's lying dormant. All it's waiting for is some outside force to agitate it up. And it'll come back up like a monster laying in your stomach, Leviathan, right? And, you know, you all of a sudden 1 minute you smiley, and next minute you're like, whoa, I never saw you like that. Yeah, because you never touched that spot before. I didn't want you to see that. I thought I had that under control. Well, what made you think you had it under control? Did you work on it when Allah blessed you to see it before? Or did you get an attitude because someone brought that side out of you and you looked at the person that Allah used as an agitator as your enemy, when in all actuality Allah works through men and women for the betterment of men and women? So now you're looking at something that put you through a trial, but you failed. Now to fail, it doesn't mean that it's over, because you're still breathing. You can always, like a scientist, go back into the laboratory and reflect back on this. But to reflect on these things and be able to overcome them without guidance is like a ship without a rudder. That little rudder controls a big ship. But if the rudder's broke, it can't control the ship, and the water will just carry the ship in any direction that the water wants to carry it. And all life comes out of water. We can't live our life recklessly, just going with the flow of everybody else's life when they have been affected by the technology of a devil whose sole purpose is to control the people of God through trickery and deception. No, we need guidance. We need guidance more than we need knowledge. As a matter of fact, to have knowledge without no guidance is really the manifestation of a jackass. Because a donkey can have all the books of Al-Azhar, the vaults of Mecca, on its back, climb up the top to Mount Everest, and get to the top and still be a jackass. We can have supreme wisdom in our library, Holy Quran, Bible, the books of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live, 1 and 2, right? Yes, sir. Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived, The Time and What Must Be Done, Message to the Black Man, all of the messages of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But if we're not accepting the guidance, we will just manifest ourselves as fools. We will be limited in our progress. Allah blessed us with his guidance. Is that right? So when we go through the trials and the trial stirs us up, well, how does Allah stir us up in the trial? Through our emotion. It's the emotion that stirs it up. But once it's stirred up and we're able to see the truth about ourselves, so you're not that top FOI that you thought you was. You're not the smartest MGT in the class. So you are a liar. You are a deceiver. Oh, you do have a sexual appetite that is out of this doggone world. Now what? I can't go to the mosque no more. I'm done. I'm not made for this. You know, this ain't for everybody. You know how many stories we've heard? This ain't for everybody. So I just found out something about myself that's making me realize, you know, I'm gonna support y'all, but I ain't the one, man. Y'all got it, you know. I just got some things I gotta work out. No, that's not why Allah put us through trials. The trial is to bring out of us the best and the worst, so that we can hold on to the best and discard the worst. In our lessons, we're asked the question,